This is Rooted Black Girls with Farah and Afnan, representing everyday Black millennial women of multiple faiths and cultures. Today, we're talking about setting intentions for 2021 and also the caucasity of it all. Sit back and ride out with us.
All right, Salam alaikum, Afnan. How are you?
Walaikum salam.
How have you been? How's the week been for you? Such a
It's
loaded.
been good, alhamdulillah. I
Yeah.
know, I know. I've been off of social media quite a bit, and I've seen the rumblings and the chatter, so that's why I'm just kind of like unplugged. I've been very much into like my intention books and my Oprah. Our meditation has it been so like honestly like I'm behind in terms of like where I would normally like to be by this point in terms of like yearly planning. Like I haven't written out my yearly goals. I haven't done any of that. I was just like,
This is different for you.
I know. I am definitely, you know what, like that we had a conversation with Camelia, mashallah. I really, really love her. We love her, a friend of the
You know,
pod.
yeah.
And she hosted a dope room with us on Clubhouse for those of you guys who weren't there. Amazing room for us in terms of like setting goals. And if you guys don't know, like Farah has been saying everything with intention for years. Like that's her phrase, okay? Like don't play with it. She probably should trademark that, honestly. Mashallah, she uses it so much. And I realized I was actually getting goals and intentions confused. I would use them interchangeably and they're not the same. They're very, very different.
Mhm.
And I've been like on my spiritual awakening, understanding the difference between intentions and goals and how I want to use that in my life. I haven't quite gotten to the bottom of it yet, but it's been really, really interesting to slow down, which is not like me. You guys know I'm very, very like go, go, go. So I'm still working. I'm still moving forward. But that's been interesting.
Yeah, I love that, Afnan. And we've talked about this a lot. Why I use the phrase "do nothing without intention" or "everything with intention." First, "do nothing with it without intention" comes from Solange's album, her second one, and she has it in one of her interludes. And so, even it's a part of our tradition where we give people an assume best intentions.
Mhm.
And so, and now kind of carrying that to the fabric and framework of my life, it's just really committing yourself to a mental state that kind of harbors and allows the framework around the decisions that you make. And so we talked about this example in Clubhouse, right, where you can say, hey, I want to get healthy or I want to lose weight, right? But by saying the intention of like, I want to maintain wellness and assume a healthy body, right? Then that's the framework, that's the mental state, and then now you've put together a thread to connect and kind of work through that intention, right? So sometimes you may fall off the wagon and eat that donut because that girl Dunkin' Donuts got this new Dunk Fetty donut. That's so good. And I've been loving it, but you fall off the wagon, wallahi, and then like, I contacted my trainer. I was like, okay, we got to go hard because I didn't go in the month of December at all because I had some COVID scares, and so I definitely fell off the wagon with eating as well. And so I'm like, let's go back on this intention wagon, right? And make the best decisions for yourself.
Yeah. And you know what? It's so funny that you say that. I also, alhamdulillah, like I accomplished a lot in 2020 despite everything that had happened, alhamdulillah. And I realized there were quite a few things that I worked really hard for, I prayed hard for, I was blessed with, and then I wasn't happy with it. I was like, I
Mm,
thought it was gonna feel different.
yeah. Great,
I
Afnan, I'm
thought
gonna
I
push
was
back
gonna feel
here.
a little.
Can you tell us a little,
Say
maybe
it
if you're
again.
willing to I'm just going to push back here or push you a little bit. If you're willing to share maybe a goal that you had that you got it and then it just felt different by attaining that goal.
That's a good question. I think I would say that almost all of my goals were focused on the like acquiring something,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't spend enough time on how I wanted to feel,
Mm,
right? So, for example, I wanted to do a 30-day challenge and I wanted to finish one, right? Because I'm like notorious for starting, stopping. Like I'm just, yeah, I don't know when to quit. But I finished one, for example, and I didn't, to your point, I didn't talk about how I was going to feel and the wellness. And I was really underwhelmed with
mm-hmm.
like even though the weight started coming off, I was just like, it still felt like I was just going through the motions. It didn't feel satisfying. It didn't feel like it was from a place of balance and from a place of wellness. It felt like compliance. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm making any sense.
I think
So
attention.
I just felt like I was.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, no, you did a call. You said, did that make sense? And I was like, yes. You know, I'm just rallying you. You know, I think attention is all about progress and not perfection. You know, and I
Yeah.
think what you do really well is just when you want to take care of a task, it's around perfecting and acquiring knowledge around that so you can perfect that task and execute it.
Yeah.
And you do it
Yeah.
very well, mashallah. I'm always
Thanks.
impressed by you.
I appreciate you. So like now I was reading a book in 2020 called The Pursuit of Perfection and how like that's a fucking lie.
Yeah.
And that was really helpful at the beginning of the year. And I think that kind of set the framework for this like transition as I was going towards the end of the year. So that's one. And then two, I think now I am like doubling down on like the spiritual aspect because you know what I realized? I realized like a lot of the people that I look up to in terms of motivation, when I think of Oprah or when I think of Jeff Bezos or any of these people who have really done a lot for themselves.
Mhm.
And maybe not their personal practices or their personal lives. I appreciate what they've been able to build and how they've had the freedom to give to people as they see fit, right? Oprah's given a lot of money to HBCUs, for example, or the community, or just her really fun shows where she's giving away like free trips and cars and, you get a car and you. Yeah. So I always love that. And I was like, damn, like, wouldn't it be awesome to have that in like in our community? So I really appreciate that. But something I realized across the board for a lot of people that I look up to, and look to for like in terms of like how do I work harder and smarter and be more disciplined and elevate to that next level and that next level, they all talk about a sense of spirituality. And I always assumed that I had that as a Muslim. I always assumed that like, oh, I know who my God is, like I know who I serve. But what I didn't realize is that, and Oprah really broke this down for me, especially lately, when she was saying, God will give you gifts, but you have to be willing to lean into his dream for you.
Yeah.
And your gifts you may see and you may have other intentions with them. She said, for example, like I wanted to be on TV, but I didn't realize that I was going to be doing it in this way. And it wasn't until I leaned into God that manifested.
Mm.
Or, she's like, and so she talks about like releasing your dream for yourself in order to live in the dream that God has created for you in your life. And that was really hard to like get my arms around because so much of manifestation, like we talk about, is co-creation for sure. As Muslims, we understand that, but also what I do, my ownership. And there's a fine line between being accountable for your life, living in harmony with God, with what God has called you to do, and accepting redirection.
Yeah.
In my mind, oftentimes if I got kind of hit with a wall, I'd be like, okay, I gotta figure out how to scale it. I'm gonna climb it. I'm gonna climb it. I'm gonna climb. But sometimes it was like, no, bitch, that way. It's the wrong wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, and as especially our parents are super hardworking and just did not believe in no. There was no such thing. It was figure it out, overcome. And I really admire that about our parents, but I also just missed it. It's such a small detail, but super significant
Yeah.
in terms of being able to, when you hit the wall, saying, Lord, is this the right wall? I'm supposed to go over this one? Because I can go to that one. We can go back to the other one too. Which you want to do? Whatever you call me to do, I'm going to have determination to scale that one and to overcome that one. And so I was like, so that's where I'm adjusting right now. I'm just like, okay, God, use me. So I'm trying to be more flexible, more open, ears to the streets, kind of in terms of like, I want to be able to hear God's voice clearly. So that's what I've been working on. I know that was super long-winded, but
Everything you said was just gang, gang, gang. You've been talking about this on Clubhouse and just our conversations about the idea of co-creating your life and how we understand that, I've always loved this phrase too. I think before do nothing without intention, it was like, yo, the pens have lifted, the ink is dried. Like this is your life, but I think we know this to be true, that we have free will, and we have the ability to kind of reframe our life and kind of continue to refine our experience, right? And I think no better I don't want to have that experience without the connectivity and connection with Allah and without a sense of
Yeah.
moral value. And that's what I'm learning in this kind of like part of my life right now is you have goals, but what is it rooted in, right? And of course, we're going to say rooted. That's our favorite word, but we want it to be rooted in our morals and our values and our beliefs. And I'm starting to realize that even as we are connecting with different people or our listeners or even romantic connections, it's just, are we rooted in a similar kind of tradition, and that's it for me, and even when we talked about kind of, we've been doing this pod and we've kept refining and redoing and figuring out exactly how we want to connect with listeners, right? And we've always said in the beginning, it was all about like kicking it. We in Atlanta, and then COVID happens, and we're thinking like, yo, what how does this matter, and what are we saying to people? And so it's all about that idea of co-creating our lives, and even within community, like with you, right? There's some element of like you have your own independent life, mashallah, but there's some level of co-creating in that sense of like how we're creating this message and what we're saying. And we're, if anything, all we're doing is that we're connected with people. And so I just want to be rooted in some level of value and belief. And I think if your foundation is tight, and you'll be able to accept pivots, right, as kind of the will of Allah to like a better direction. And so, I haven't even written down any goals for the year. I wrote a few down. I was just like reduce my stress, or here I put like save more money, right? But the way that I'm saying it is practice more intentional spending. It's
Mm.
saying I want to save,
Okay, but
you know, by the end of the year. It's just like, okay, Farah, is it necessary to get them dark mochas, Jordan 1s? Like you got a few in the
yeah.
back. Or like by reducing my stress, it's saying, hey, say no and be confident about saying no, and like take care of your people, right? Here's another one, like exercise every day. I would rather say like I'm going to tune into my body and what it's requesting of me. Because if you think about it, like my sister and I went to Gainesville to drop off my little brother. He's going to the University of Florida, fourth grade Gator in the family. And on our drive there, bruh, I ate all my favorite things. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get the Ruffles, the cheddar, sour cheddar Ruffles. I think I got a little Debbie snack. And wallahi, I got to the hotel and I was like, oh my God, like, what am I eating, bruh? So my body was telling me, like, no, gang. So the next day, I tried to make better, decisions around attuning my body to its needs,
I
right?
like that. I like
Yeah,
that.
I think
Allah.
intentions is where it's at, bruh, and assuming best intentions from other people and assuming a best intentions for yourself too.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Sure. It's been really good. It's been really good. So that's the positive energy I've been holding on to despite all of the nonsense happening on the internet.
The internet's been going crazy. So first I want to talk about some positivity, right? In the state of Georgia, runoff elections, people say, and have historically not really come out to the polls for runoff elections. People are living life, right? And so Georgia, with early voting, we brought out almost a little over 3 million people to the polls. And then on the day of voting, we were watching, right? And the votes didn't come in. And it's interesting because CNN, I feel like back in the day, used to just call stuff, but they've been like really fact oriented, and I appreciated it. But by the evening, Reverend Warnock won and took the seat of Loeffler, I believe. And then by the morning, we got notification that Ossoff won. And so we have a black man and a white Jewish man, right? In the Georgia Senate. And so we've pushed over votes enough so that, Joe Biden can really answer and deliver on his campaign promises. And so we are going to be watching him like a hawk, like, yo, bruh, you've got some answering to do. And so in addition, we have to thank and give flowers to the women who brought out hundreds of thousands of voters to the polls, who definitely did the work to
And took back our fucking country.
at that, right? And so Stacey Abrams lost the 2018 gubernatorial race in the state of Georgia, but stayed down and like worked her ass off to get more voters. And we know New Georgia Project with NSA and several other Black women who worked to increase the number of voters in the state of Georgia.
But I saw something, like I said, I haven't been on Instagram, but either somebody sent it to me or I happened to see it. someone said, this motherfucker did it. He really did make America great. Democrats then took back the took back the Oval Office, the Senate, the House. He's like, God damn it, he did it.
Oh my God, girl. And the thing is that, we had Tuesday, we are waiting anxiously, like, what's happening, right? Like, we need this win here so we can get real change kind of moving forward. And then Wednesday, I woke up, wallahi, I swear to God, I put on my scrubs. I was like, ooh, yes, it's a great day. No one can ruin this day for me. I think Jasmine Sullivan released her featured song with her called Girl Like Me. I was bumping in the car like, ah, And then, girl.
Honestly, I think the entire, that was our energy. Like, oh, we can breathe again. Like we can just exhale.
Right.
I agree 100%. I think a lot of people felt that way.
Straight up, just breathing. I felt relaxed. I went to work, all smiles, and I think I saw some patients on the floor. And then I left around like 1:32 and the shit hit the fan, like the straight caucasity of it all, And I guess you said you were off social media. I was tuned in hella hard. I was like live tweeting the whole mess, right? I came home. I'm still on call until 5. So I'm like manning my pager and watching TV like, what the hell is going on here? And so there was a plan, I guess, going on social media where white supremacist nationalists who wanted to keep Trump and felt like the election was stolen from them decided to storm the Capitol on the day of the Electoral College count, which is really more symbolic than it is any level of like, we're about to do something or overturn the vote. It's never happened, where the Electoral College did not agree with the state's counting of Electoral College votes, right? And so as that's happening, and this is a joint session of Congress, meaning all our legislators, both senators and House representatives, are all in the Capitol building. Meaning if someone were to do anything, God forbid, then all we have is freaking Donald Trump, and Mike Pence was in the building. So all we'd have, and I don't know if what's that show called? Is it Designated Survivor? Where I don't know if you've ever watched it, but it's where one person from either House of Representatives or on the presidential cabinet like sits out of joint session of Congress so that just in case there's some attack on legislators, they're left behind. But really everyone was in this building. And then you have these white insurrectionists who come to the Capitol and literally it looks like they're colluding with the police officers because they let them motherfuckers in.
They did. I did, because like the group chats were jumping. So even though I was off social media, I saw pieces of it. They were definitely moving barricades. I definitely saw people like photos of officers taking photos with Trump supporters because that's their friends. The gang came through basically. And I'm not gonna speak for all police officers. There were definitely those there, I'm sure, who were doing their job and were doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But definitely they were among their own people.
That's it. And I tweeted that, I put this on Twitter where I said, asking for the police to do something is like asking Sasha Fierce to come on stage when Beyonce's performing. I was like, these are the same people. They're homies. And in addition, the Capitol Police has a lot of like Black folks in their kind of ranks as well, who probably when in a space of power, right, were no match to like white people who know that the system is made for them. You know what I mean? And there was an actual visual representation of a Capitol Police officer in the Capitol with like maybe 10 to 20 like insurrectionists in the Capitol, and he's running away from these motherfuckers, because he's like, even within this country, even as you're wearing the uniform, that means nothing to like white nationalists who know that this country is made for them.
Who are armed and think that they're better than you and that this country belongs to them. And like, it's scary when you think of people who fundamentally believe, whether right or wrong, those can always be labeled extremists because they're just not balanced, right? So I can do.
It was just quite fascinating to see. And then to see that by the next morning, only 14 people were arrested. And I think in total, maybe 68 people were arrested in comparison to over 14,000 BLM protesters from this summer, So, or I don't even know if it's this summer, but
misdemeanors.
With misdemeanors. Yeah. So you just think about the complete disregard for justice and law and order, right? And law and order really is for the protection of white interest, white capitalism, of white power. But when it comes to law and order for Black people, we see time and time and time again that this country isn't here or isn't here to protect our interests or our health and well-being, right? And we
Yeah.
saw this as they descended into the Capitol and sat in the head chair, you know.
So let me tell you, I wasn't, well, like I said, I wasn't on social media. So when I was seeing pictures in the group chat, I thought it was photoshopped. I was like, that's whose office? And they were like, oh, this is Nancy Pelosi. I was like, there's no freaking way. They with their feet up. I was like, wait, and that's when I really was like, no, what the hell is how the hell did they get in there? Like,
Yeah.
and then I'm thinking, and then someone was like, oh no, Pence is in the building and they escorted him. I was like, so these fools, but at the same time, in the chats, I was also seeing like the red velvet rope with them walking through like it was a fucking field trip. But I'm just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
wait, what the fuck is actually
What is happening here? And the thing
that
is,
is
it's insane to me because you've gone to any concert, right? As soon as you submit a permit, Delta, right? You submit a permit. You have to have the amount of policing or security to take care of the participants of that event. These motherfuckers put the March on Trump, I think, or like the March for Trump, right? And submitted a permit to the US Park Services for over 30,000 people and didn't have enough policing for them. I was like, this was straight up collusion to me, bro.
no, no, wait. First of all, I didn't know any of that,
Yes.
right? What I was telling my family, I was like, how the fuck can y'all tell that I went through a gate in ATL airport twice, but y'all don't fucking know 10,000 people?
Come on.
I was like, literally, I'm getting asked 30 questions because I only have a one-way ticket such and such place through the airport. But like, and because my name is F9 or whatever the case would be, like, well, we just have to verify, right?
Yeah.
But y'all didn't see them get on the fucking plane. Y'all didn't see them buy the tickets. Y'all didn't see the Facebook groups. Like, but you know what? I don't know why I'm surprised to hear that. No, they actually even had a permit and the government knew about it. It was like,
I think in total there were 14,000 protesters and they had no sense of policing to take care of the situation. And maybe they did and people just allowed them to come in. I think all of us were just mouth agape at the audacity, and I'm going to call it caucasity of the situation.
Caucasity.
That's what we're naming the episode, is Caucasity, because it was just insane. And we'll go into this subject here. Then you have Trump, who, of course, initially says, hey, no violence, but then releases a video on his Twitter that says, he says in the beginning, of course, of like not condoning violence, but then calls the people, his supporters, I think he said, I love you and you are very special, right? And that mind blown.
Is that why he got his Twitter taken now?
That's what got him suspended. They shut him down. I think initially they said for 12 hours, and that they would he would regain control of his Twitter if he took that video down. But at some point, the Twitter CEO or whomever decided to take him off completely. So now there's a conversation around censorship, right?
Yeah, I thought that part was interesting because I didn't know about the video. I just figured because Trump is being fucking Trump, like, yeah. And I'm using a lot of colorful language today, but it's just like, anyway. So I think the conversation is interesting that people are saying, should Trump have gotten his account removed? Mm-hmm. And at face value, a lot of us probably be like, yeah, take that nigga off of, you know what I mean? Like it's too late. Like we should have been done that, first of all, right? But at the same time, I saw different perspectives in the group chats where they were like, what's the difference between people thinking Trump is wrong and a Black Lives Matter, right, leader as wrong and deleting their Twitter? And I was like, it's a little different. Yeah. A little different when we're talking about actual violence that the leader of the free world versus a civilian, like, let's be clear, right? But I did understand the arguments of, Black people are still the minority who a lot of the world didn't agree with. Mm-hmm. And so we can't use that as the basis to remove Trump, which I agree with. It's not about we disagree with him solely. It's because people have died on account of the verbiage, the propaganda, and the things that he has said. So I understand the concern, but a lot of other social media platforms were like, he's off of our platform too, sis.
Everybody shut him down. I mean, like Shopify. And I was like, what does Shopify got to do with this? You know, you better just run this check. But I think it's a little too late. Like if anyone was supposed to censor them, it was the Congress by impeaching that motherfucker and getting him out of office, right? And they didn't do that. It's 2 weeks. It's just like too long, too late. I can't even count the days. 3+ years, almost 4 years.
Like a formality, like, oh, y'all just don't want to go out sad, so now y'all trying to
go out
take
at
all
the
this
last minute, like as cavaliers, like Trojan horse ass motherfuckers. And I'm like, no, it's a little too late for that. I didn't think, honestly, he should have been censored. He's been inciting violence. He literally said, when the looting starts, the shooting starts, bruh. And you didn't think that was the time? This was against BLM protesters. He said, stand back and stand by when he talked about the Proud Boys. And you didn't think he was inciting violence there? So I'm just like, and for the White House staffers that decided to quit 2 weeks before, that was just a 2-week motherfucking notice. You know, I see all of y'all. Like, people are trying to protect their interest and trying to disconnect themselves from Trump right now. Mitch McConnell, you got one coming for you too. You know, his ass like is trying to get on the other side of Donald Trump when you used him to push your message and get your Supreme Court justices that are going to change the framework of this country for a very long time. So that for the idea of censorship, 2 weeks before, I don't necessarily agree with it. Twitter's a public platform. It's publicly traded, and people do a lot of shit on there, inciting violence, saying what they want, being abusive, you know, but I also enjoy the app because it's hilarious to me, right? And so I just think it's a little too late. And then I think there is a case around censorship of Donald Trump, and I foresee him suing them. Also, you think about the NFL, right? I saw that conversation. I don't know if you did, around Colin Kaepernick and his choice to kneel, peacefully kneel. He didn't even say much, you know, and they decided to remove him. But he did win a civil case and won an undisclosed amount of money towards himself, and he did win that case. So I do think there is a case around censorship, and I think this is a slippery slope, and I think it's a little too late for me. You know, this guy's out in a little bit, and I'm looking forward to the day. I wore my crew here from Marathon Continues, with see Hustle, the victory, the marathon continues. You know, and I think more than anything, we realize, yes, Kamala's in office, Joe Biden's in office, and hopefully they represent.
They got a lot of work to do. They got some big, huge expectations that people have of them, for sure.
100%. And the thing is if anything, we know that we can't be sleeping giants like we were with the Obama administration. Like, I feel like his whole family, Obama, I was like, I could trust you. You know, granted, I was younger at the time, right? In my early 20s. Sure. So,
now we're like, where's the bill, Joe?
Still, I'm taking notes. You know, I'm going to be watching and seeing what's going on. You know, I'm going to contact
every day. Bro, my dad be like, Joe, he has 100 days. He better finish these things. I want to see these things. He needs to do it. We'll take his ass out. And I'm like,
and that's the big thing. I love energy. I love that your dad said that the first 100 days, people want to see like true legislation. And now you have a Senate and a House that's majority Democratic, right? Get the shit done, bruh. You know what I mean? And I think, and we talked about this in the beginning of the summer, like, we have to be a group of people, like a race and ethnicity, a group of people in the United States, especially as Black people or people of color, that really is a party or a group of people around interest. And like, what do we want? You know, we got our Black vice president, right? We got Joe Biden. Black people got Joe Biden in, right? In addition to white swing voters. But I mean, I think they were being apologists for their own sucky ass behavior for electing Trump into office. I can keep going on and on, man. Just cut me off at any time, but we want to see them work, and that's the point of it. They're apologists to me, bro. I'm just like, I don't pat you on the back at all.
Yeah, no, I no contention here. I agree with you.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't think they should invoke the 25th Amendment and remove him. I think everyone's distancing themselves from Trump, and I look forward to the day when he's out at noon on January 20th, as it says in the Constitution. Like, I read that shit. I'm ready for him to be out.
Like, bye.
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 So,
But anyway,
yeah, that's this episode, Caucasity. We're talking about intentions. We definitely wanted to start with a positive note about how we're moving and looking forward to the year of 2021. And unfortunately, we have to keep saying 2020 over and over and over again for the next decade. So 2021, it is what it is. And we hope to continue to do the work and be rooted in our values, inshallah.
if you guys enjoyed this episode, please make sure you guys rate and review and like and comment if you guys are watching on Instagram or YouTube. We appreciate all of the love and support. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace, y'all.